You're listening to the Smith House Adventure Show.
One of my good buddies is Willie from Willies Distillery in Annis, Montana. I don't know if you follow Willies Distillery.
I think I just started following them. After I started following you, I started finding a couple interesting people and organizations.
So Willie's a bit of a legend, man. Like Willie was a ranger out in Savannah, out in the East Coast. I think it's Savannah, Georgia. And when he retired from there, he did his time in the Rangers. And like 5 days later, he drove across the country and he's in college in Missoula, Montana. So he went from being like in a ranger platoon to being in college within like a very short period of time. And you got to think about the culture shock that takes place from when these guys in your ranger platoon know everything about, right? They can pick you naked from the back out of a lineup because they've seen you in the shower so many times. Like and that's not weird, but it's just like that's how well these guys know you, right? And then you go to college, and Missoula is a very liberal kind of hip street kind of town. And then he goes to the hot shot smoke jumpers, so he's a smoke jumping firefighter. And then he joins the National Guard Special Forces because he stayed in the Guard after he retired full service from active duty. And then he meets Robin, and then he starts this thing. He has a commemorative whiskey called the Devil's Brigade. And the Devil's Brigade in 1943 was a joint Canadian and U.S. Special Forces unit that was recruited specifically from guys like loggers and guides, trappers and cowboys and mountain men and these kinds of types, these hard-nosed dudes, and that were both from the American and the Canadian side. That their base where they shipped them all to train and kind of gel as a unit was in Helena, Montana, about 2 hours away from here. In Fort Henry Harrison. They've got a great museum and all this other stuff. And I've been there a number of times. I've done a couple tours with some buddies and that have come down and anyway. And their bourbon or their blended whiskey, Devil's Brigade. I should have bought a bottle for this podcast to shot them, but I didn't. And his blend is because the unit was 60% American, 40% Canadian. It's a blend of 60% American bourbon and 40% Canadian rye. The fighting knife that they got issued for this was made by Case Company out of Chicago, Illinois, and it was the V42 fighting dagger, which looks like the SAS, like Fairbairn Sykes. And it's dope as heck. I bought one, a knockoff, when I first became an operator, and I painted it up all cool like my gun, and I rocked that V42 fighting dagger, knockoff, but still the same style, on my rig for 4 combat tours as a new guy because CSOR and First Special Forces Group still hold the battle honors that the Black Devil's Brigade got in World War II. And because of that V42 dagger, they made that alcohol 42% alcohol by volume. And each batch is dedicated to a horseman, like a guy, like an old timer that fought with that outfit. And in 12, doesn't matter. I did really good on a course, and they sent me over with a group of guys from the regiment to go visit the battlefields that they fought on in Italy, including Monte la Defensa, which was this gnarly mountain that was like sloped on one side and then sheer cliff on the other. So the Nazis pointed their guns down on the most likely avenue of Allied approach. And so the Devil's Brigade were like, well, we'll go up the cliff. And so they technically assaulted this with and by technical assault, I mean like old cotton ropes, no MVGs, old school mountaineering shit. And they climbed this thing, and they had found after when they had done the battle damage assessment that most of these Nazis ended up not with bullet holes, but with slit throats because they got these guys in their beds because they got them, you know what I mean? They were just like Tommy Prince, one of the Victoria Cross winners from Canada, was a full blood Native American. And he was a sniper for the force. And they called it the Force, the First Special Service Force, the Forceman. And we proudly rock the lineage of that outfit.
Thanks for your time. Please like, subscribe, and comment to help grow the show. And remember, get back up.